Thanks for joining us, everyone, today. As we get pretty close to 1 o'clock here, I'd like to welcome everyone to this webinar, part of our Level Up series, part of the Digital Economy program. So great to have people joining us for workshop 9. Some people have been with us all the way through. We'll have some people, I'm sure, joining us for the first time today. What we've seen so far, it's been awesome, is lots and lots of questions. We see lots and lots of discussion in the chat. And I'll kind of talk to us about that in a moment, but I'd like to start by doing a land acknowledgement and say that in the province of Alberta, we're situated on the traditional territories of Treaties 4, 6, 7, 8, and 10, ancestral homeland of diverse First Nation groups, Métis and Indigenous people whose ancestors have walked this land since time immemorial, and whose histories, languages, and cultures continue to influence our vibrant community. We pay respect to the Indigenous people of this land, past, present, and future, while recognizing their cultural heritage, beliefs, and relationship to the land on which we reside. Thanks again for joining us. I'm Matt Hill, the Digital Economy Program Development Manager here at BusinessLink, and I'm joined by Kelly Doody from Social School. Nice to see you, Kelly. Kelly's going to go through the content today and guide us through some activities as we go through there. I would also like to, oh, sorry, folks. I would like to just tell you a little bit about the Digital Economy Program and how you can access the support that is available to you and your small business. So you need to be a registered business. You don't need to be incorporated, but you need to be registered in some way. You need to have fewer than 50 employees, and you can't be a non-profit. So you have to be a for-profit business in that way. And there are 2 streams to the program. One, the shop here, powered by Google stream. So if you're looking to get online with an e-commerce website, there's a group of e-commerce coordinators waiting ready to work with you and make that happen for your business. And the second part of what we have today is our Digital Service Squad program. So throughout the province, there are 20 digital service squads who are ready, again, to serve your business. And they can work with you on a variety of things, from helping with your social media strategy to advising what steps you should take in terms of advertising or building awareness of your business. So lots of great things that they can do for you there. Without further ado, though, I would like to reintroduce Kelly from Social School. And I know you can kind of introduce a little what Social School is, and then we can start with social selling. Lots of social.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt. So much social, as always. Hi, everybody. Welcome. We are rolling right through these workshops. If you have been with us from the beginning, hats off to you, because, you know, it's been a lot. It's been really fun, though. I'm enjoying myself. I love hearing about your businesses. And I mean, there's no shortage of change for any of us in the world, in our province, and you might be outside of Alberta as well. And I think we can all relate to the need to continuously evolve our businesses, but also stay on top of the digital trends and the marketing that is working today and going forward. So thank you again for having me. I'm thrilled to work with BusinessLink on the Digital Economy Program. And we've got 4 remaining workshops in the series, and then they start again. So if you want to join us for round 2 or rewatch anything, you're welcome to do that live. And of course, you have the replay videos and slide decks and everything else at your fingertips too. So don't be afraid to go backwards, and hope you'll keep joining us going forwards. So we've teed up this particular workshop for quite some time now, because social selling is, excuse me, the paid content side of the organic storytelling. That means the unpaid posting, publishing, sharing that we've been working on and strategizing around for several months now. So this is going to be the toe dip into the pay to play landscape, where we're putting a bit of money behind our content on generally our social media feeds, not so much our Google ads and anything outside of Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter we're going to talk about today. But then in 2 weeks, in 2 more workshops, which is 4 weeks away, we're going to have part 2 of paid content, which is straight up digital advertising. Today, we're really going to lay the groundwork. We're going to talk about targeting, budgeting, platforms that we're going to prioritize with our spending, and the entry level, if you will, or the starting points around the pay to play tactics. So I hope you'll join us for Workshop 11, Digital Advertising, which happens in May, late April. And that we'll again build as we go. So today, of course, we're talking about why this is important, why organic reach, or again, the unpaid reach of the content that we post is not getting the same type of traction that it once did. And it's a numbers game. And it's also an algorithm game, and it's a revenue generation game for these platforms that have to monetize themselves, or, don't have to, but want to. We're going to look at Facebook Business Suite. And the reason is...
Kelly, Rebecca from the back end here. I just have to interrupt you. I am sorry to let everyone know that I have to turn the chat function off. I know it's been very useful, but we have some trolls in here, and I'm going to find out how to turn it off, and we're just going to turn it off completely. I'm very sorry about that.
Thanks, Rebecca.
Thank you. Please continue.
Yeah,
awesome.
Thanks Rebecca. Just while we go there, sorry about that. It's kind of distracting, but this is it's awesome to have. Kelly, Anna, we can definitely ignore the chat for now.
Perfect. It happens. We have all heard about how Zoom is vulnerable to, trolls, as we say. And we're seeing it. So thank you all for sticking with us. All the more reason to get our house in order and know that we are in charge of our digital platforms, you guys, because it happens everywhere to everyone, let me tell you. So we're going to talk about Facebook Business Suite today. And I'm going to put you on the spot, and I'm not going to be able to chat with you, but I'm going to insist, not even ask, but insist that you get to know Facebook Business Suite. It is the free tool that manages your Instagram and Facebook pages and any kind of business related activity that you're doing on those two platforms. So it's really important. We're going to look at some setup today, but you're likely going to need more time to go in on your own and further flesh out this platform, Facebook Business Suite. From there, we're going to dip our toe into audiences and ads manager, because that's a necessary place to understand before we boost our content or look at, again, stage one of paid content, which is promoted posts or boosted posts, we like to say. I won't bore you with social school details because you've heard all about it, but that's my company. And we've been helping students and small businesses like yourself for quite some time, and nothing gives me more pleasure. All right, the landscape. So let's lay the groundwork here. We know that we have many billions of active monthly users on Facebook. It is the largest platform on the internet in terms of social media, and it's got an enormous uptake where you are regionally, locally, as well as nationally, internationally. If you're shipping overseas, if you're running a digital business, if you're selling to, your small backyard of 10,000 community or town site members to get people into your retail store, the same rules apply. People are on Facebook more than you think. Don't listen to your teenagers that tell you it's not cool. Do a survey of your customers, your prospects, the people in a room that are, strangers to you, and ask them if they're on Facebook. And I guarantee you'll be surprised. Likewise, Instagram is our second largest uptake platform in North America. We've got no shortage of, again, prospects and customers who are on that platform on a regular basis, and it's where we want to be. As we've talked about for weeks now, when we do show up there, we absolutely want to deliver the kind of content that makes them want to engage and follow and click through and act on, as we say, convert. It's not spammy, it's not overly promotional. We're joining the conversation, and we're part of the party that is, social media engagement or relaxing or whatever, entertainment for our users. They're not there to be marketed to, they're there to be entertained. And then, of course, LinkedIn is another really important place for us to consider. It's fantastic for business to business marketing and, again, storytelling. And it's also just a great underutilized social platform, as we talked about a few weeks ago in our social media 101 session, where there are so few less content creators, and thus both our organic and our paid reach gets a little bit more traction than we do on Facebook and Instagram. So the idea here is that we're keeping up with the algorithms. The paid content game is important because the filtering that algorithms do in order to serve up just the right kind of content to each of their users who are there to be entertained, not sold to, is really, really challenging. It filters content because, quite simply, you and I follow too many people or are targeted by too many advertisers that we can't see it all. So it's Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn's job to incorporate an algorithm and filter that content in a way that makes sense for you. So it's not just this fire hose of information. You're getting the right amount of content and the right blend. Unfortunately, as marketers and business owners, this means for us that over the years, the organic reach has declined for each individual social post and for our page as a whole, on a whole. And we have to now start to think about putting some money behind those posts. This is where I like to say that the front end content, the art, copywriting, graphics, the designs, the visual assets, photography, video, animations, so important. That's what gets us stopping from scrolling right by. It captures our attention. It gets us to take action. But it's the back end that is seeing people win today. Knowing their data analytics, knowing what kind of content's working, and knowing how to strategically target and place that content in someone's newsfeed that actually makes a difference. And these are the agencies, marketers, and businesses that are winning on social when they know front end and back end kind of simultaneously. Matt, is there anything you want to add to that?
No, I think, no, in full agreement, yeah.
Okay, awesome. And it's not easy. Of course, developing a budget is a personal thing. We'll talk about that in a minute, but I often say to people, as you've heard me probably already say, none of us want to give Mark Zuckerberg more money or spend more money online that we don't have to. But if we do it really strategically and we can pull budget away from probably some areas, especially print, I hate to say, billboards, TV, radio, where we have less control and it still costs way more than what we can leverage and spend on, say, Instagram, now we can start to justify that shift, just as so many big businesses have around the world.
I think that's it, isn't it? It's like, yeah, I know we've mentioned it previously, but like if you are spending a marketing dollar, you really want to know what you're getting in return for that. Like if you can't track it, if you can't trace it, it's harder to make sure it's being efficient for you. We're doing some print direct mail ads right now for this program to send to small communities, and kind of obsessed with how can we make that trackable. So, you know, we've included QR codes on them. We've used a slightly different web address so that we know we've got the data. So yeah, we're spending on traditional, but we're using digital to make sure we can track those dollars.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And you've started at the end, as we always say, work backwards. If you know your audience is underserved with a postcard in the mail, or that's where their attention is, great, we've got to go there too. I'm not telling you not to spend on traditional means, but knowing that the cost of sometimes a billboard or a radio campaign can be just gigantic when you take it over to, say, Facebook or LinkedIn, we've got to at least be aware of how to make the switch or even it out. So we're talking about, as usual, the funnel, the customer journey, and again, the AIDA functionality of that. So awareness at the top of our funnel, just building awareness for people that don't know us yet, moving them along into the interest phase. Well, now I kind of know you. I'm a warm audience member and I'm interested in learning more. And then I'm getting moved further down the funnel because you're serving me up the right type of answers. And I want to make a decision. And I hope that you're the decision I'm going to make and I'm going to take action. So getting people down the AIDA funnel is the same thing that we're trying to do with our paid content as we were and are with our unpaid organic content. So with advertising on social, we're able to target the people we want to reach, reaching non-fans, which is my favorite part of this. People that have never heard of us before are suddenly receiving or being served up our content on social in their newsfeed when we put some money behind it. Facebook's going to do that for us. And of course, we can analyze and adjust like crazy. So constantly meeting that goal that we set for ourselves in, again, the organic content side of getting the right stuff seen by the right people at the right time and place. That idea of also, not spraying our message across the land to millions of people that are not nearly even in our target audience, like a billboard might do, and instead dripping it into the inboxes and news feeds of just the right people that we've strategically decided to target. So important. So I'm going to show you the lay of the land, kind of some of the really neat aspects of digital advertising today. And then we're going to go into some of that tactical stuff. So I hope you stick with me as we go into the back end of Facebook Business Suite, because I want you to see how easy it is to get set up and going, not just theoretical stuff. But first, we know that costs are rising because more and more of the Ford Motor Companies and the Gucci's and the, Teslas and Morrison Homes are spending their budgets on digital. So yeah, we got to play, but when done well, we can still absolutely win. And particularly if we're targeting strategically, because now I'm not targeting the same people that Ford is. I'm targeting a really key segment of my audience that is not heavily advertised to. So less money. We have unbelievable image options. And if done well, we create the right type of assets, or we just have them on hand, graphics, photos, maybe some animations. We can serve up these incredible ads that don't feel like ads, which is what most of us will resonate with as general public. Countless ad types. You've got at your fingertips all these incredible advertising, not just mediums, but types. So shopping ads that you can click on and land on a certain product in your Facebook shopping catalog. And I never even have to leave Facebook or Instagram, and voila, I've just ordered your t-shirt. Story ads, lead generation ads, where you're going to get my email address, carousels, etc. So all these different placements. Now we're going to get into this in 2 workshops where we talk about digital advertising, because that is the more sophisticated version. Remember, today we're talking about straight up boosting our posts, getting the newsfeed posts seen more often. When we get into digital advertising, we're creating campaigns that can land anywhere, inside a messenger, in the sidebar, in someone's newsfeed, on a third-party site when they're playing solitaire.com. I can have all sorts of placements at my fingertips. And then just straight up the anatomy of these ads that Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn have so cleverly built for us that are designed for people to take action on. The moment I put $5 behind my post that's going on Facebook today, I get a little call to action button so someone can click through to my website. I don't get that if I'm not spending money on it, because Facebook doesn't want to offer people the easy choice to click through to my website. They want us to stay on Facebook. Plus headlines and byline or subheaders and captions, etc. Really well designed. Likewise, we can take the funnel methodology that we've been talking about, or again, the customer journey, where we're moving people along towards their goal and ours to get them to buy or subscribe or call us. And we can utilize Facebook and Instagram's advertising tools to do just that. I can serve them up some content on a regular basis and then serve them an ad. It can be kind of a cold top of funnel awareness-based ad. And then it gets moved into something a little bit more timely, or, employing some more urgent language, and then moving them into sort of that hot audience where they're actually, incited to take action or buy or purchase or use a coupon. So really, really neat opportunities there. So there's 2 big ways, as I mentioned: boosted and promoted posts and ad campaigns. And this is what we're focusing on today. If I was to go into the back end of my Facebook page or my business suite and see my insights on how my posts are performing, it might look something like this. And anywhere where you see an orange spike, a dark orange spike on my post performance of my Facebook posts, is where we put some money behind it. Probably $10 is our standard, unless it's a big announcement. We might put $20 or $30 behind it and boost it for 3 to 5 days to X audience or Y audience or Z audience. And I'm going to now see that not only did my paid reach obviously perform well, but my organic reach went up too. So it carries it along. I could also toggle through and see who out of fans versus non-fans saw it, and what type of engagements, etc. So really becomes eye-opening when you see what kind of results you get from just a little bit of money. And I know sometimes for some of us, we think, well, I don't have $200 a month to put $10 behind each of my Facebook posts. Okay, but I would then ask you, how much time and energy are you putting into creating your organic content only for it not to be seen? And that's where we start to, you know, justify the spend. Matt? Oh, you're muted, Matt. Oh, there you go.
Sorry. Yeah. I was having this conversation with my team yesterday of when we're working with clients, we need to have them have an awareness that it's not going to come for free. You know, like there has to be some, you know, some commitment of funds if you're going to really have the impact you're probably hoping to have. Totally. And like you say, it can be small, can't it? It can be, you know, $5 on something or $10 on something, but it's and it's being consistent, I suppose, with that too.
Yep. And if you don't want to have the philosophy of boost every single post, as a lot of companies do, oftentimes with a smaller budget or a smaller business, I'll say, okay, when you see something doing well, boost that, because you've just been told by your audience, hey, we really like this content. We're engaging more than usual. And thus, there's probably a lot of other non-fans out there that would do the same thing. Now's your chance to pounce, put $20 behind that thing. But if you're not set up in advance with Business Suite and with your audiences, then you're going to go in and you're going to blindly boost it, we say, to, you know, women aged 25 to 55 that live in Edmonton, and you're going to probably waste that money. So if we have some targeting set up in advance, then we're in good shape. So let's look at that. First things first, just a quick overview of Business Suite. And as I mentioned, you're going to want to spend more time in here getting to know it. And there are no shortage of online tutorials, and Facebook is trying to make it as easy as possible for people to start using Business Suite. A note here, your business page is not Business Suite. Most of us have a page by now, that's great. But if you see the blue bar up at the top, it means you're still accessing your business page from your personal Facebook account. You want to see the gray bar where you're now utilizing the full suite of Business Suite tools and you're in a much more secure environment. You don't have to log in personally and then access the page, not wonder, am I commenting as myself or as my business? It all becomes very seamless and business oriented inside a Business Suite. So we're managing, maybe we have more than one page, we can manage them in one place. We're managing and organizing all of our assets, which is so important. And remember over the years how valuable these things have gotten. There's a reason why it's super annoying to have to like multi-authenticate, log into your Facebook account, because they get hacked all the time. And these pages become a massive tool, an asset for companies when they have 1 million fans or 1,000 fans. It's like your website. So you want to make sure that it's secure and that you've got all permissions and people added to it properly and removed as well. Business.facebook.com will walk you through pretty easily, but we're going to do a quick setup guide here. You do need to have a Facebook account. You can create a dummy account if you want. You don't have to post a thing to it, but you've got to log into a personal account first before you can bring in your business page or create a business page from scratch. From there, you can add people to it using their work email address and, you know, just invite them to that Business Suite account that you or someone in your business started. So it becomes fairly simple. You're always looking for the business settings, that little gear to get things started. And this is where you're going to be adding first your page, either an existing page, or you can set up a new one. But this is part of the assets, the business assets area. You can replay this video if you need to too, because I have to move through it fairly quickly. From there, you're connecting both your Facebook page and your Instagram account, and maybe a WhatsApp account if you want to, you know, do some marketing through that as well. It's just another platform that Facebook now owns. Connecting your Instagram business page, same thing. Deciding whether it's a new one that you're trying to build from scratch here or claiming an existing one, you should be able to find it. Sometimes we run into problems here. You're going to have to Google and troubleshoot that. But generally, if you're the page owner and the page admin, you can add them pretty seamlessly. And then of course, we want to add our ad accounts. This is the next part. You don't have to start advertising yet, but you want to set this up so that you get all the audience building tools that you need to start thinking about advertising and at least have those audiences ready to go. Be mindful of currency, time zones, and probably set up a new ad account if that's possible for you. I wouldn't recommend trying to pull in an old one. Just start from scratch, set it up properly, and make sure that you have your spending limits and your credit card added if you can. And then from there, final step, people and permissions. Pretty straightforward. Like I said, this is where I could add your business email address if I wanted to. And you're going to get an invitation to join my business suite account. We can share it. We're now all part of the same business suite account, and we have varying levels of access or permission. So it does sound maybe complicated, but I promise you it's not. You just walk through it step by step, and Facebook does have to make it pretty easy, or none of us are going to use this brilliant tool, but you're not going to understand it or feel really, really comfortable with it overnight. It takes some time, just like anything. Sound okay, Matt?
It sounds good. And this kind of constantly evolves, hey? Like, 'cause I remember running Facebook ads and things like 6 or 7 years ago. Very, very different experience, hey? So it is that, yeah, it's crazy how,
and it's
how
actually, it is. And I actually find it annoying. I'm running some LinkedIn ads right now, and it's just so easy to set up. And the reason that we're not spending much time on LinkedIn and Twitter is till the end, because if you know how to, if you can build audiences and boosted posts and ad campaigns in Facebook and Instagram, you're laughing. You've got the other ones figured out. It's so straightforward. But Matt's right. It has totally evolved over the years, but this is the most powerful advertising tool in the world. It has the most targeting, the most people that it can reach, because again, 2.8 billion monthly active users in its database, and the most types of platforms and now ad features that we have to be able to access within it. So again, be patient with it and patient with yourselves. I promise you that, you know, one of the most underutilized aspects of marketing and small business today is strategic advertising on social media for a very, very modest budget. But you've got to dive in and do the work to get to know the platform. Otherwise, like we said, it's really easy to not only get frustrated, but waste money.
And Kelly, like, obviously this is an introduction. This is an hour-long webinar where we're touching on these things. Like, would you say, obviously you run a training school, so I'm sure you direct people there. But in terms of like, if someone wants to kind of navigate this themselves, like Facebook have training, don't they? Like,
Totally.
is that a place to start, a place to go? Does it confuse people more?
No, it's a wonderful place to start. And, you know, as much as they maybe succeeded in some people's eyes, maybe not, their goal is to make advertising on their platform like as easy as possible so that any of us can do it, because that's how we're going to spend money on behalf of our small businesses or big businesses. It isn't meant to only be operated by ad agencies and, you know, experts. So, you know, while it might look a little bit familiar, it's just like Squarespace. The first time you open the back end of your Squarespace website, you're like, what on earth am I doing? I'm not capable of editing a website. Well, yeah, you are, because everything's drag and drop and, you know, DIY today. So if needed, for sure, just Google Facebook advertising tutorials or go into Facebook's own analytics area and ads workshops. You'll find them. You can be certified in it if you want to. It's the same with Google Ads. It doesn't have to be from a third-party school like me. It can be right in the platform, and they'll walk you through step 1, 2, 3. It's not very easy, I will say, to get one-on-one help from Facebook. It's kind of like that monolithic Google that you can never actually talk to a real human being. But there's so many answers on the internet and on YouTube that, you know, for the most part, I've never run into anyone saying I absolutely need to talk to someone at Facebook. I can't do it myself.
It was interesting because actually in the Q&A here, someone did put, they have a hemp business, a living local hemp, and they've ran into problems around violating illegal substance policies and things like that. So yeah, on those occasions, probably really useful, but challenging to speak to people.
And you know, Teresa, that I'm reading that question right now. ZipCheck's healthy living local hemp unable to pay for any ads or boosts because you're being told that it is an illegal substance. I'm sorry to hear that. You know, I'm running some ads right now about a climate change technology, or sorry, a greenhouse gas elimination technology. And we were flagged as, you know, unable to advertise because we're a social issue. Anything related to politics, environment, housing. What this is Facebook having to answer to regulators because they were the ones dragged into court, again, because they're the biggest and they're the leaders in this field. You don't see LinkedIn having to face off against US regulators. But what they had to do was start to say, okay, we will play ball. We'll get more stringent and strict about political campaigns, thank God, and who can advertise, but also issues that could be seen as prejudice. So don't run housing ads to people who can only afford them. You can't run, religious ads to people that might find it offensive. There's certain areas you're like, that makes sense, that makes no sense, but it is Facebook trying to show that in fact they're more responsible. When it comes to alcohol, cannabis, anything else that would be deemed contentious, adult anything, you can apply for exceptions. If you're saying that you've seen those boosted posts being run by Manitoba Harvest, they may have applied, just as I did the other day, for an exception. So I'm submitting my passport, literally my photo, to say that I am a legitimate human being, and I stand behind these ads, and we want to have an exception to being able to run a social issues ad. So you may want to go through that process, especially if in your jurisdiction, hemp hearts are legal, which I'm sure they are in most, but Facebook will automatically flag those things. I think I told you guys about the ad set that I was running once for a Regina conference, and it got flagged for being porn. So that's where you can apply for exceptions and try to get someone on the phone, or at least in an email exchange, to say, hey, I want to advertise. And you'll have more chance of getting some support if you're showing that you want to spend money with them, for the most part. Okay, let's keep moving. So the next step is Audiences and Ads Manager. We're going to be going deeper into this in our digital advertising workshop in 4 weeks' time. But as I mentioned, we've got to have some understanding of it if we're going to boost posts. So not so much Ads Manager, but certainly audiences. There's 3 types of audiences as categorized by Facebook. Custom audiences there, if you look to the right sidebar. Lookalikes, let's ignore special ad audiences. That's what I just talked about. And then saved. And the saved are where we want to start. This is what we like to call cold. Remember, top of funnel awareness, cold audience. And this is where we're targeting for things like demographics, geographics, and interests. So age, gender, where do you live? What are you interested in? Maybe what industry you're in. You can do some job title targeting here, some baseline kind of interests around, what do they like? What do they do? What do they read? Who do they follow, etc. So it's still really powerful, but it's not based on behaviors or things that we've seen them do with us, which is where we get into, I'm going to flip to the 3rd type of audience, which is called customs. And I'll come back to number 2 because we create number 2 after we create number 3. So custom audiences are hot. They're at the bottom of our funnel. We call them hot audiences. Facebook calls them custom. And it's based on, there's a couple things here, but I'm going to show you 2 examples. The first one is website traffic. So if you've landed on my website and I have my pixel, my Facebook pixel set up, which you do in the first settings area, build a pixel, get your 10, you don't even build it. You just say create pixel. Take that 10-digit code, drop it onto your website. There's usually a spot for it in your settings. And then that pixel fires. Every time someone lands on my site, a pixel fires and sends that IP address back to Facebook, and it builds me a dynamic, powerful audience. We're crazy not to use this audience because you are literally retargeting or remarketing to the people that were on your website last week, last year, last month. Which page? Did they make it to your homepage but not your checkout page? Did they make it to your checkout page but not your whatever thank you page, meaning that they didn't actually fulfill their purchase? So powerful. And like I said, it's a dynamic audience that's always being added to, thanks to Facebook's pixel, always, further building it for you. Maybe your website's too new. Maybe you don't have enough traffic, or you're just not interested in the pixel. No problem. There's other types of hot audiences we can create, such as the one on the right. I'm going to instead choose a Facebook source, and I'm going to choose Instagram account. Anyone who engaged with my Instagram account in the last 90 days, I'm going to retarget with some kind of boosted content or ad campaign because they're hot. They're into me. They're definitely ready to take action. They know who we are. I'm not going to reach them with some, hi, nice to meet you ad. I'm going to reach them with something that says, hey, sales on, see you there, right? And that's how we get people to convert. Finally, we would go back to that lookalike audiences, which is the warm in the middle. We take anything that's been hot or custom and we make a lookalike out of it. So I've got people in Winnipeg that were on my website in the last 90 days, any page of my website, doesn't matter. And I'm going to create a lookalike audience of people that live in Regina, because why wouldn't I? Similar profile, similar interests. Facebook can do that for me. So we would consider that a type of warm audience. As I mentioned, we'll go deeper into Ads Manager in a couple of weeks, but basically this is where we go to create those more robust ad campaigns, not just boosted posts where we have them showing up on the news feed to more people that don't know about us or for longer time span, but where we actually create these really powerful ads that can do wonders. And I'm teeing that up again because it's such an important piece for us to consider once we master boosted content.
Just while we have it, sorry, Kelly, can I just jump in with a couple of questions that we have? So Anchor Dan on the Q&A just asks about the Facebook pixel. We hear it mentioned lots, but just, he says, is it only on Facebook business page? Is the pixel on Instagram or Twitter?
Great question. So it's actually in reverse. So your pixel lives on your website and it's created in Facebook Business Suite, but anyone who's on my website is going to then be built as an audience back in Facebook Business Suite in my audience manager. And now I can target them with an ad on Facebook or Instagram or Messenger, because those three entities are owned by Facebook. Twitter, no pixel. You can't run pixel ads to a Twitter audience just yet. LinkedIn, yes, you can, but you'd have to take the LinkedIn pixel and also add that to your audience. So we say to most small businesses that there's two pixels you really need. One, Facebook pixel, which is going to help you with Facebook, Instagram, Messenger ads, and two, Google Analytics, because that one is going to tell you everything that we talked about last week in Social Insights or Metrics That Matter workshop 2 weeks ago. And Google Analytics gives you just an overarching view of everything that your website is doing, where people are coming from, how long they're staying, what pages they're viewing, etc. If you wanted to also add in something like a pixel or a Twitter pixel or other platforms, you certainly can. Sorry, LinkedIn. I'm getting confused. I hope that helps.
Yeah. Is there, just while we're on the retargeting piece, is there a way I can retarget my Etsy visitors?
Good question, Laura. I don't think you can, because you don't own Etsy.com. It would be, unless I'm wrong, and they're giving you the option on your individual Etsy page to add your Facebook pixel to it, but I'd have a very hard time believing that that's an option, because they would have then millions of pixels of Etsy users firing on their singular URL of Etsy.com. Whereas that's one of the biggest reasons to get your own website. When you have your own site, your own domain URL, you can add all the pixels and traffic tracking information that you want to it. But yeah, we're limited when we're using third-party sites, in the same way that I can't go on twitter.com and add my Facebook pixel to it. It just, I don't have access to that code.
Kelly, not talking about visitors, but talking about customers. So if I had, we're maybe getting too much into the weeds here, but I'm sure you can. If I have an Etsy store and I have, 100 clients, would I be able to take the emails of those 100 clients and use them to retarget with Facebook ads?
Yes. Excellent question. Okay, so Matt's just asked about a really powerful audience type. And in fact, it is one of the hot custom audiences. So if I go back here, and if you can see on this very first little square on the left, where one of the audience sources says customer list, that's where I can upload a legally garnered email list to Facebook. And just as a CSV file of nothing but email addresses, and it's going to match, it's going to scroll and troll through your list and match it to Facebook users and create an audience for you. So if you can't do pixel website traffic, the second most powerful type of custom audience you can create is certainly your list. And the problem with it is that it's static. So I like to re-upload that master list every quarter, but it's totally up to you. And again, if you have legally obtained these email addresses and I'm going to be emailing them with my e-newsletter, why can I not also target them with an ad? The answer is you can. Don't be afraid to do it. It's an underutilized place or audience type, and we really want to consider doing that. Great question. Anything else? Any other questions, Matt?
Like I used to have I was a small business owner, and you know, it almost makes me want to have something that I can run these things. I just think it's so clever. Just the power of that targeting that you can do. It's, yeah, if you were really telling someone, describing this to someone 20 years ago, I think they would think you're making it up. You know, what you can do and the levers that you can pull, for sure.
Absolutely. I know. I often say it's so good it should be illegal, and it almost is. So use it while you can. I mean, we don't know that for sure. There's no indication that we can't continue to advertise to or email our mailing lists. But, you know, certain people will adjust their privacy settings or whatnot, and we're finding it harder to reach people in some of the more traditional ways. So we've got to get as clever as we can. I've just run through a few of the golden rules of post boosting there, and you can take them or leave them. But for the most part, it's what I've been talking about already. Boost whatever you possibly can, boost it back to your website, and, you know, strategize in advance of what could I actually start to spend in order to get this content seen. So there's two ways that we can go about boosting a post. In fact, there's more than that, but I'm going to show you the two simplest ways, and you've probably seen them already. From the front end, whether I'm scrolling my Instagram feed in the app on my phone, or I'm in my business suite looking at my post performances of my Facebook page, I'm going to see those little blue buttons everywhere where Facebook wants me to throw my money down. And this is fine. This is a great place to go ahead and boost that post. Again, especially if you see it's doing well, why not put some money behind it and get it to do even better? And as long as I have audiences set up in the back end in advance, I would recommend, then no problem. I know that this particular post is perfect to be boosted to this particular audience of my 10 to 12 well-crafted and monitored audiences. And I say monitored because it's not an audience list that you built, you know, 15 years ago and you haven't gone back to it since. You're staying on top of them. You know that you're uploading your list regularly. You know that your pixel's firing. You know that your saved audiences are relevant, etc. And I can confidently put $25 behind that boost right there. It's foolproof. It's fast. We might get a few less insights than we do if we're going to run ad campaigns, but it's still a great option. Option two, I'm in Facebook Business Suite on one of my very favorite tabs called Posts and Stories, and I can see all my boosts right there, or sorry, all of my content, and I can boost it right there. You'll also note that in the very top corner, you see Create Post. This is the same place we schedule our content. So getting to know Posts and Stories inside of Business Suite is a really important thing. And the bonus on this zone is that not only can I create posts and schedule them here, but I can pre-boost them. So if I'm going to schedule 5 posts for next week, Monday through Friday, I'm going to put $10 behind each of those to a certain audience for each one. And I'm going to pre-boost it so that the moment it goes live on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday, it has that algorithm right away knows, oh my gosh, we got to give this one extra reach, extra pow, and make sure that it gets seen by X amount of people in this target demographic. And it's just going to perform better, as opposed to going back after the fact and boosting it. Okay, you guys, we're going to run through the final bit here, which is just looking at promoted content in a few other places, Pinterest, LinkedIn, and Twitter in particular. And then we can take on any questions. So LinkedIn, similar, you know, we see this all the time. You can look in your LinkedIn feed and very quickly see that the big pages, particularly big brands, businesses, media companies that have 1.75 million followers, like Entrepreneur Magazine, you know, might get 9 likes on a post. And that post I pulled had been live for only 45 minutes, but still the organic reach is not very high considering that they have almost 2 million fans. Or sorry, followers. Whereas you can see on the RBC post on the right, just that tiny little promoted word, which most of us are used to. I don't find it offensive. I don't mind it because it's a great post. It feels like something that's organic or value adding. And I can see right away that they've had 55 likes and 5 comments. That's the difference. Putting $25 or $100 behind their posts, and they're doing few and far between. Remember, quality over quantity. Of course, they're going to spend the money to boost that content. Likewise, on LinkedIn, we have ad campaigns and then what they call sponsored content, not promoted content. So we're really looking, first of all, at that sponsored content, boosting those posts. And then if you want to, you can go deeper into ad campaigns. So it's a really easy way to reach more people. And again, get that content actually seen. The boosted posts I'm running on LinkedIn currently are performing unbelievably well, to the point where I'm like, I might even pull back from the Facebook and Instagram because, you know, I keep getting flagged as a social issue. Whereas on LinkedIn, no problem. I can talk about climate change stuff all day long over there. And I can also target people in the oil and gas industry that work at these 6 big companies, because we know so much about their employment information on LinkedIn, and I can target them for, you know, 6 days at a time with each post, and holy smokes, the reach is incredible. So campaign manager in LinkedIn is just as easy as Facebook, if not easier, actually way easier. And you're going to just find it if you go to business.linkedin.com and you set up your account. Pretty simple. And, you know, it'll walk you through the process. Just a quick snapshot of the places you can also advertise on LinkedIn so that you can start to think about it if you want to go beyond boosted posts. And again, the next time you're on that platform, take a look around. You'll be targeted by ads in your, you know, inbox, in the sidebar, in the top banner, in everywhere. There's no shortage of placements again with this platform. So LinkedIn or Facebook, Instagram are not the only ones playing with multiple placements. Just something I want to show you here that's kind of cool. I'm now back in Facebook and I'm on Nike's page. And if I scroll down on the left side of Nike or any business page, your own page is included, there is now a box called page transparency. Again, it's Facebook trying to play by the rules, be more above board, etc. And page transparency tells me a lot of things, like when that page was formed, if they ever changed their name, etc., people who manage the page. But if I scroll down, like you'll see in the middle there, to ad library, I can see every type of ad that Nike is currently running. I can filter it by my country if I'm really interested what they're doing there, or I can see what they're running in Korea if that's of interest to me too. And if nothing else, well, it's awesome to see what our competitors are doing, because very often I'll have, you know, a hotel say to me, how could I possibly compete with the Banff Springs? It's just a joke. I'd never. And then we'll go and we'll check out. And in fact, the Banff Springs is running no ads. You're golden, like wide open highway, go for it. Or do something different than they're doing, you know? But I think even more important is the inspiration we can find from these ads, and just to see how simple and straightforward some of these paid content campaigns are, even for the biggest companies in the world. So don't overthink it. Some of them are just single image ads over and over, not fancy video and carousels and everything else. We can do this same thing inside of LinkedIn. So if I was to go on to, in this case, Unilever's LinkedIn page, I can go into that little button there that says ads, and I can see what they're running in terms of ads, all the paid posts and ad campaigns that are currently active. So, and same thing, if you're served up an ad in your feed, you can click on the 3 little buttons and just see, why am I seeing this ad? And in some cases, you'll get a lot of information about the audience that they're targeting or what audience you might be falling into. So it's just really interesting research, if nothing else. And then Pinterest and Twitter, same kind of thing, lots of ad types. For these platforms, we're pulling from, or for Pinterest anyway, existing inventory, they would call it. So you're taking your existing pins, so pins that you've posted and published, and you're pulling those into some kind of campaign. And again, wide open field. I don't know about you guys, but when I go onto Pinterest, it's in my weakest hours, my like late night scrolling through Pinterest to take my brain off of everything else, just to get some ideas for my home reno, like Matt's doing. And I see the same ads all the time. So, you know, if that makes sense for you to show up there, even if it's totally unrelated to the, you know, I'm seeing ads for garden tools when I'm inside of cooking stream, great. You know, just be clever with it, play around with it. It's really easy to set up your campaigns in Pinterest as well. And finally, Twitter. They've come a long way. They're getting better. It's like Twitter took a long time to incorporate an algorithm to start filtering content at all, which is good and bad, I guess. And then it also took a while for them to get a little bit more sophisticated in their ad campaigns, but you're seeing them more often. And if you feel your audience is on Twitter and this is somewhere you'd like to, you know, experiment with some paid campaigns, I would highly suggest you give it a try. It's not too complicated. The thing that you're going to want to do, no matter where you're spending your money on social, is try out some different platform experiments. What I would suggest is starting with what we would call a boost challenge. So allocate $10 to $20, pick one post that you feel comfortable boosting across maybe Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram, 3 to 5 days, go 7 days if you want, and then do the same audience as close as you can to the same audience on all 3 of those platforms and see how it does. Maybe do it more than once, because a video ad might perform as an incredible boost on Instagram, not so much on LinkedIn, but either way, we can't spend money everywhere. So it's really helpful to know where you think your ads are best performing, and then going forward from there.
We'll on that very point, Kelly, we're running ads for the Digital Economy Program to get this out to as many people as possible. And our ad agencies say to us that, you know, they're planning Instagram ads. They think that's where lots of our business owners will be. They'll do some Facebook and we'll do LinkedIn. And my reaction with LinkedIn, I was like, oh, like, why waste our time? You know, I thought, okay, this is, you know, it's a small business audience. LinkedIn's not the place for it. Mm-hmm. Now that's where we're advertising most, you know, really? Like that's where it performed best. That's where we got most signups through, you know, it really does go to show that your biases or you bring in these judgments that might not actually be, you know, bear out in reality. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. It often proves me wrong. The data doesn't lie. And nor does the credit card statement. So yeah, it's certainly not something that we all want to just set and forget. We've got to be actively doing this. And, you know, I've told you this before, a lot of you, that when we have run campaigns where we spend, let's say we're going into a city, like when Social School before COVID was doing conferences across the country, and we'd go into Ottawa and run our Social Ottawa conference. And we would spend $1,000 on ads with a 10 time return goal, knowing that we wanted that $1,000 of ads to sell $10,000 worth of tickets. And we would reach that constantly because, you know, we were on top of it. And we knew that we were working people through a funnel a little bit. We started for 3 weeks of those awareness-based ads. And then we got more, you know, warm, talking to people with more like, well, here's the session types we're running. Here's the speakers that'll be speaking. They're just more, you know, interest-based warm content for our warm audiences that were expressing interest. And then the hot ads that would come, you know, in the final weeks that were like, buy now, on sale, get this bonus pass and more content, you know, just all those things that make people take action urgently. And it was really fun. And I'm not someone who, I've said this before, is like, you know, a junkie for the numbers and the data and the insights. But when you start to see those returns, you're like, how many credit cards can I put in play here? Literally, because it can make all the difference. And you just suddenly have this feeling like, okay, I'm not talking to no one anymore. And I don't have to say to my team, my boss, my CFO, here's why I'm doing social media for free. You know, oh, here's why we're doing it, because it's our biggest sales tool. And not only that, but we're able to track what every single one of those dollars spent led to in terms of website clicks and conversions. And that's where, if you're really able to and interested in taking this to the next level and the next level, where you're really managing and tracking the conversions, I tell you, it's one of the most utilized pieces of digital marketing today, and a really high demand one too for anyone considering doing outsourced digital marketing work. It's very difficult to find people that are well versed in digital ads, but also in the actual data and what we would call the iterative side of it, where you're constantly improving them, you know. Any questions that we can answer here? I went through some of these workbook exercises, you guys, but I'll just say that the idea is simply, first of all, try and get Business Suite set up.
if you can, and go through the process, as painful as it might be, to add your pages or page, your people, and your ad account. And then if you want, set up your pixel and pop that onto your website. Those are the 4 things that we need to do in Business Suite. And once you're done with those settings, you can go into the posts and insights and audience builder and hopefully start to build out a few of these audiences. And this page right here is the most important. Building those cold, AKA saved audiences, where you've mapped out in advance on a napkin, on this page, what are those interests and behaviors? And thinking back to grade 9 science, where you have controlled variables, and then you have that, like, the one that changes, who's the name I always forget, the variant, we'll call it. So I've got, 3 cold audiences, and they're all targeting women aged 25 to 35, and they live in Edmonton and area, and they all, are interested in, I'm failing here, clothing, let's say fashion, style. But I also know that some of them have a job title that's in that industry. And my variant, basically what I'm trying to say, changes so that I can create 3 different versions of that saved audience. Or maybe all the interests are the same, but my variant is age, or my variant is gender or location or whatever. But now we have a few different saved audiences that I can really realistically or confidently call on when I'm going to boost my posts, and know that they are not all targeting the exact same person.
I've got some quick fire questions for you, Kelly.
Okay.
We've got 4 minutes. We can, they're quick fire. Does Facebook Business sync with Shopify, or are these 2 different parallels?
Pretty different. Yeah. Although Shopify, being a fantastic DIY website builder and host, as well as one of the most powerful e-commerce providers in the world and Canadian, you can put your Facebook pixel on your Shopify site. So that's what you want to do. Generate the pixel in Facebook Business Suite, pop it onto your Shopify site. If you don't know where, Google it. You'll find a million videos on where to put it, and then check back on Facebook Business Manager, and you'll see that pixel audience is starting to fire when people click on your Shopify site. There are other integrations between the 2 platforms because they're such mammoths, each of them, but that's the one you want to really think about.
And that question, you kind of alluded to the answer there. People still kind of get confused in terms of the pixel. So essentially the pixel, and Kelly, correct me if I'm wrong, is a piece of code. It's a piece of website code. That if you have a website where you can kind of get into the back end and add code and things like that, you would put that code onto the website, onto your website, and that sends information to Facebook.
That's right.
But lots of the kind of Squarespaces and Shopifys and things like that, it's just a number, isn't it? That you kind of put onto Shopify, and essentially it works to create the piece of code. It's a simple process, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. And now, thankfully, Shopify, Squarespace, Wix, even WordPress, they have it right in the settings where you just pop that 10-digit code right into it. It takes 4 seconds. You copy it off of Facebook where it says, here, Kelly, here's your pixel code. And it's 10 digits long. And I drop that onto my settings in Squarespace. Whereas in the past, we used to have to put it into the actual code of every single page. But now it's just this universal code. You apply it one time, push save, and now that pixel is applied to every page. And really what it means is that if you look at an average laptop screen, it's got 1 million pixels on it. Just think straight up pixels, those little things that come to life and show the picture. Well, one of those pixels on your website is now replaced by a Facebook pixel. You can't tell, but every time that website is opened, the pixel fires, like that pixel is used. And that's the code, or that's the event that is sent back to Facebook. And that person's IP address is attached to it. So you're welcome. You now have that person's information. Very little information. You don't know anything. In fact, you can't even see that IP address, but Facebook can.
Yeah. And Sean from Calgary says, is that the same for Wix? And yeah, it's for all those kind of DIY website builders will have that type of functionality. Sean also says, if we were to hire someone to do paid online marketing for us, how much should we budget for? I think I started asking that question and then realized we have 1 minute left. And that is how long is a piece of string? How big is your business question? But I suppose in understanding always, what is the lifetime value of your customer? Because that's going to be the biggest thing. Like if you are a customer of Kelly's for the next 10 years and you do every single course she has and all of those things, that's maybe a high value. If you are selling, I don't know, something that's going to be clearly a one-off purchase, it's going to be very, very different indeed. So having a good understanding of the lifetime value of your customer and working back from that, because then you can decide, okay, how much can I spend to acquire this customer? It's
You're absolutely right. And as I think I used the example of a friend of mine, he works at an agency called Vovia in Calgary. They're excellent. They specialize in paid campaigns, Google, Facebook, etc. But some of his clients have a $5 million annual budget, like the Cabela's of the world, for example, or the Nissans. But he is charged with earning $50 million worth of sales from that $5 million budget, that 10x number again. And he can show it and he can do it. It's incredible, but take several zeros off that. And if you're going to outsource any of it, make sure you know what they're doing and what your goal is, and that you're in touch regularly, and that no one is saying to you, well, it's going to take me 10 months to get results. No, not when it comes to paid ads. They should be immediate.
Yeah, that's it. It's such good advice, Kelly. It really is. Thank you so much. We had a rocky start in the chat, but we ended up with rockstar questions in the Q&A tab. So we're all good from there. Thank you so much for speaking and answering all those questions today, Kelly. We can trail what's up next. So we have websites that work on March 24th, workshop 10. Thank you again, Kelly, and thank you for everyone for attending. I remind everyone, go and check out the DEP website, dep.businesslink.ca. I know Rebecca's going to send a follow-up email, which will make it very easy for you to find out and get signed up and get support for your business. Thanks again.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Bye-bye.